Hi, I'm Dr. Nat Pernick, the founder and CEO of PathologyOutlines.com. And this is a new feature, What's New This Week at PathologyOutlines.com. It'll be a short summary of highlights of some things that I think will be of interest to visitors to our website. Feel free to send me any comments at N-A-T, at PathologyOutlines.com. So we've been affected, like everyone else, by the COVID-19 pandemic, but perhaps in different ways than you have. First, we have been deluged with author contributions. As you know, many pathologists have a lot of time on their hands because the surgical workload has dropped. So they are writing for us, and that's a great thing. We have almost double the number of topics coming in that we usually have. Of course, we've got the same number of staff, so that means that things are getting backed up. The turnaround time is increasing. But we do appreciate all these extra topics, which it takes a couple months before they go live, but still we're already seeing an increase in the number of new topics going to the website. The second thing that we see is that since there's not as much work for pathologists, there's been a marked reduction in the number of job ads on our website. As many of you know, our job board is probably by far the leading place that pathologists in the US and Canada will come to post their job ads. And we've seen a marked reduction. Earlier this year, we had close to 500 ads. Now I think we're at about 350 total. The number per month is about half of what it was last year because institutions say, gee, we don't have the work, even though we might really need a pathologist in normal times. Since the workload's so slow, we'll just put it off until we actually need it. We typically have a quarterly jobs report that comes out that describes trends in jobs, not just in numbers, in locations, in subspecialties, but we have a new database for this information, and it's taking us a while to put the data into it, primarily because my staff is so busy with the author topics, and this is a lower priority. But I will try to get some information out to you in June that covers at least whatever data we've got available. One of the other things we've seen is a marked reduction in pathology conferences because, of course, people aren't traveling. But if you do go to our conference page, you'll see that there's not many conferences in the rest of the spring and summer and even the beginning of the fall. But many of the conference organizers have gotten a good idea, have said, well, we'll have a hybrid conference. Rio, we'll set it up for Rio if we think that that's possible. And if not, we'll fall back to having a virtual conference. And of course, at the virtual conferences, you could still hear the speakers, you could get the CME credit, you could get some of the same experience. And there are some advantages. You don't have to get time off from your group. You don't have to book an airfare or a hotel. It's not the same, but it's somewhat similar. So be sure to look for that on our conference page. And some of them are also appearing on our CME page. Another change that we're making that's independent of COVID-19, but just based on some input from our visitors, from our resident advisory board, from our actual editorial board, you know, we have a textbook, and if you go to our homepage, some people don't know, we have a list of 60 plus chapters, and each of them has 75 to 100 topics in a topical order and alphabetical order. That's one way of organizing all this vast amount of information. Of course, you can also use your search engine, but this is how we set it up. Well, now we're having every chapter have its table of contents reviewed by an editorial board member to determine are there topics that should be added or deleted or renamed or merged or perhaps moved to another section. And that's a lot of work, but we plan to do it every year so that the site is up to date. Now, we still have to have people write the new chapters, but at least we know what we want them to write. We've also made a change in what kind of topics we're including in the chapter. When I started the website in August 2001, my thinking was that we wanted every topic that appeared at any site to have its own page. So every lymphoma in the kidney would have its own page. That really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what I did at the time. So we're removing those now, particularly the hematologic neoplasms, the soft tissue neoplasms, which a lot of times we didn't have that much content. They didn't get that much traffic. Now we're reviewing them and we're removing many of them. The only downside is that some people say, oh, I wrote the definitive article on this particular tumor at this particular site. And in the past, maybe we would have accepted that as a contribution, but now it's not. We want to focus on the topics that really are the most important. If it's a lymphoma, you can look in the lymphoma chapter, or you can look in the soft tissue chapter and get the information. And we'll keep it separate at another site if there's really a good reason to keep it there. So, and then the final change that we're making, and we haven't started this, but we're going to be starting the next month or so, is to cut back on all the stain topics. Now, we have a lot of very obscure stains that really are of no use to anybody. Again, I wanted completeness, so I included them all. But now we're going to look at the traffic and the content and try to stick to those that pathologists really use the most. We have a limited staff. We want to focus on what things are most important to pathologists, and some of these topics really aren't. I do want to have a complete list of all the CD markers, so the ones that are really not looked at very often, we're going to put in a different topic called CD Other, and so if you really want to find them, they'll be there, but there won't be 300 different topics on that page because most of them are really not that useful to pathologists. And then ultimately, with the stains and CD markers being slimmed down, we hope to combine them into one chapter that has all of the IHC and special stains together. So that's what's new in Pathology Outlines this week. Again, if you have questions or comments, email me, nat@pathologyoutlines.com. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.